What up? It's your boy Dave B. You watching Dave B on TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And we're here with the new moon breakdown, and how I kind of want to do it is, I like to look at the full moon in relation to the new moon, just to kind of give everybody like context. You know what I'm saying? I give myself context, so I'll be like, this is where we're leading to. This is where the energy is leading to. So we start off at ground zero every new moon with a new way to feel, a new ground. I already said that, but a new, you know what I'm saying? We start new and fresh. And so we build up to the full culmination, which is the full moon, where now we need to be satisfied and we need to settle down on energy and more so go towards, um, figuring out how to sustain, how to sustain and hold for the next until the next time to re-up again, until we back at ground zero again, until things die down and it's time to plant some new seeds. So with the new moon in Virgo, of course, these are new seeds that have something to deal with how we set up our life, how we schedule, how we look at our routines and patterns, how we take care of ourselves overall, but from a practical sense, our resources and just our day-to-day life as far as our goals. A lot of times people forget that, the monotony of every day, the reason that it starts to become daunting is because you haven't fulfilled the monotony. You haven't found a purpose. Because once you got a purpose and a direction for your life, then the monotony of the days, they start to make sense. They're actually something that you can utilize. Every day has the power in it to change your life. So you got to look at every day and approach it like a fresh new opportunity to show yourself something that you didn't know you were capable of before. And we all have days that have to be more mundane. We all have days that have to be more simple. And see, that's where Virgo kind of gets its power in the simplicity. When you make things simple and you simplify your focus down to one thing, and focus on doing that one thing well. um, you start to realize that you can progress faster than if you're trying to do a bunch of different things and you only can spend small amounts of time in each. Everybody has a different method of going about things, but see, with the energy in the sky right now, it's just the energy we have access to. It's energy that really wants us to hone in on doing one part of the whole thing well. And then once that is complete, then move to the next one. So like things at this level is about more so simplifying the dream, simplifying the goal. I was talking about the sun being opposite Neptune in the other video. So there's a way we have to confront our dreams and approach it in order for it to survive this transit. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a transit where you can snap yourself out of doing something that you truly may have needed to do. You know what I'm saying? You can trick yourself out of thinking that you're capable of achieving a dream simply because you just didn't take the time to focus. You got too caught up in the grand imagination and it started to become overwhelming. You know, that's another thing that this transit, all this Virgo energy is really putting in front of us. It's like wanting us to learn better methods of handling stress. Either you're going to learn better methods and yeah, this is going to be rough, but you'll come out on top, and on top just in the sense of having something to show for it, having something to offer as far as um, something that is useful to others, because that's really what Virgo is looking to culminate, is like, what can you bring to the table that's useful to others, because you got Libra on the other end. So it's about taking your talents and what you have expressed interest in, taking that raw power of the sun, right? Or yeah, or no, yeah, taking that raw power of the sun and then condensing it into something that can then be practical and useful, and then taking that usefulness and offering it to others in Libra. That's what I was trying to get at. I was just making sure everything lined up. But yeah, it's about whatever it is that, and you know, we're coming again. Venus is right now in Leo, kind of not affecting too much, but at the same time becomes a point of interest, just because we're in a time where it's like our values are going to come into play very soon. Because the Venus is opposite Saturn right now, and with Venus opposite Saturn, it's another face off of energies where, you know, you have your values and then you have what makes sense in reality. You know, you have the individuals in your network that are trying to build. Everybody's trying to build right now. And then we have you with your center stage. And it's like, how do I get my gifts to a place in which it's useful? How do I get my gifts how do I go about my gifts and offering them to my network or my community in an actual helpful way? You know, a way that is not just me trying to be, again, the center, not just me trying to be self-centered in what I appreciate, or trying to approach collaboration in the way of, you know, what can I get out of it, but it's trying to get past that and say, where's the balance between my gifts and talents and what I value, and my place in a community, in my place in the network. You know, that's kind of the question on our mind right now. We're all trying to figure out, like, you know, we've been, you know, some of us have been associating for a long time, but, you know, at this point in time, again, that retrograde is really making it just that much more of a process of like having to mull things over, having to really sit and just contemplate about, you know, whether or not this is something that we can establish for ourselves. And, you know, Saturn kind of is, there's a, with this energy right now, because we're going into a more air earth time, it's a lot of really, you know, cutting out a lot of the excess shit that's kind of been getting in the way. You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, like I said, everybody's building, everybody's really about their business, because, you know, it's not, we all feel, we still in the summertime, but we all feel the fall, you know. So, or maybe we don't feel it yet, but we see it. And so there's a, you know, need to strategize. There's a need to say, okay, let's gather ourselves, let's gather what we have. And that's really what Virgo is about to be. So starting off the bat, you know, we're gonna have these energies. We're gonna have these energies leading to that full moon in Pisces. Now, when we get to the full moon, again, right now it's good to. It's a time where there needs to be a serious practical approach to how you're about to go to the next phase in your life, you know. And it starts with kind of condensing things and realizing, like, okay, like I was saying before, it's not about trying to attack everything at once. Nah, it's more about one by one, you know, taking everything and again, like I said, it's also wanting to see how we deal with stress, how we handle stress, how we deal with pressure, and not getting, you know, maintaining a space where, of course, we might still feel overwhelming emotions or overwhelming pressure, but how do we take that and transmute it into something that, again, and this is where Pluto comes in, because that anxiety and stuff like that, at the end of the day, is just you fearing life. You know, it's you fearing getting out there and just living life. You know, you have to live life. You have to do these things. You know, we get so comfortable dreaming about things, talking about things, going back and forth with things, even ironing out details sometimes. And this is the other side of Virgo. Is like spending so much time in the details, but not actually getting out and experiencing. You know, that's like the Sagittarius energy, more side of things. You know, getting out there and actually doing it, getting into the world, not just sitting back and analyzing everything. But being that we're in Virgo season, again, it's about knowing how to blend, because that can be where the misunderstanding is. It's in when we do talk about Jupiter, our experiences that we're going through right now. It doesn't quite understand Virgo's methods, or Virgo doesn't quite understand Jupiter's methods or what Jupiter needs. Jupiter kind of still needs you to get in there and do those things, so analyzing things, but making a routine and pattern that you can actually activate, putting in the footwork, putting in the groundwork, getting in there and doing it so that you can actually have results that you can look at. Because when the full moon comes around, that's the thing, we're going to be needing results to look at and results to show as well. Because at this point, from now until the full moon for Mercury to not be in retrograde. And I know it goes into shadow periods and stuff like that, but for the most part, it actually goes retrograde the day after the full moon. So right after we experience the full culmination again, this is the time where we have the mental capacity to keep up. We a lot of times we forget, like, yeah, actions are what they go off of willpower, us having the sun's energy. That's the getting out, being active, doing things. But the mentality also, like having Mercury close by is essential, or in a clear space is essential. When Mercury starts to go retrograde, it's going to be a time of going backwards. So if you didn't make any progress forward, you're not going to have a sufficient enough amount of data to go and review. You're not going to have enough, because when you start to go into that review, it's going to be like insufficient. It's not going to be enough for you to actually come to a sound conclusion. It's like you'll still come to a conclusion, but the more work you're able to do and the more results you're able to gain for yourself, the more you'll have to actually look at and be like, oh, okay, I see where I went wrong, or I see where I actually went above and beyond. Okay, cool. I need to do more of that. I need to do less of this. And it's going to be a much more clear answer, because when the full moon is in Pisces, again, the negative end is going to be too clouded in the Pisces space, and that is not a good place to be as far as like a full moon energy, because it's going to have you feeling drifting, like you're drifting, like you have no anchor whatsoever, or like whatever you've been investing time in has been a waste. And not only did you waste your time, you're seeing where it's going to be kind of like a slapping your head in the face, like, what I'm saying, like damn, like if only I had sat down and just participated in this a little bit more, did a little bit of this when I was feeling tired, when I was feeling stressed, and decided to escape through a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? That's like very Pisces energy. Picking up on vibes, but because you get hit with a vibe, wanting to take that energy and soak in it to the point where, again, now you're overwhelmed in it. So now, instead of doing something to get you out of that space, you're accepting it and drowning in it and escaping through something else as far as a pleasure that only distracts. That's the exaltation of Venus, going towards the most exciting things, right, to keep your mind occupied from the things you just need to handle, the things that you need to, and a lot of times the key be simply, again, the opposite energy being that routine and pattern, or because when you get overwhelmed, if you have a routine and pattern, it doesn't matter what you feel at that point. It doesn't matter. You've already laid down a clear cut path towards where you need to go. See, a lot of times, like, that's the thing between Pisces and Virgo. Pisces will see the goal, but based upon how they feel, they might not feel the same way as about the goal as they did when they first started. So there might be a determination that you feel just because you're inspired and you're feeling creative, you're feeling good. So you move forward in that. But then you start to feel another way, because that's the thing about feelings. They come and they go, they sway. And see, feelings shape how we're the world we're in, what we're looking at, and they motivate our actions. But when you allow too much of that water to dictate how you move, you end up passing up, you end up making mistakes, because that's not what the sun is supposed to do. That's not what that's not where we're supposed to be moved. That's not how to move, especially like specifically for right now. Because if when it comes to the sun sign, it also acknowledge that too. Because if we're just talking about a Pisces energy and the Leo energy, like the sun energy, that's an inconjunct as well. So if you do have a Pisces sun sign, you got to understand that that's a mistake that you make a lot of time, allowing, again, you have to, it's the difference between a fixated feeling and a mutable feeling and emotion. So it's like your energy a lot of times can sway a little too much than how the sun has to actually move. The sun actually has to move with a clear direction, a vision, and then a fixated feeling around that. It can't allow too many emotions to sway it. But again, you having these energies in your sun sign, you do have to do what your energy calls for, in a sense. You're the spirit, so you get to decide how to do it, but you have to acknowledge the elements that you're working with. So a way to do it is just to kind of know when it's time to, it's like that's an extra side to it. And everybody has this with their sun sign. I don't want to get too deep into one sun sign, and everybody want to know how their sun sign correlates with things. But if I'll probably make a video about that. I'm gonna make a video about that. Let me write that down so I know. Look, that's what I'm doing for Virgo season. We writing shit down. Sun effects. I think I had a series like that I was trying to start, but anyway, yeah, I'm gonna write that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But going back to what I was saying about just the energy right now, right? Just getting back to the energy right now. Being that we have the sun in Virgo, though, again, acknowledge the fact that, especially, that's the wrong way to go about things. In any capacity, just because of where the sun is at and what we need to be exhibiting through our actions. We need to be exhibiting routines and patterns and schedules. So regardless of how you feel, negative or positive about that goal, you've already set what needs to be done on the list. So you have to fulfill that list to the best of your ability. And again, I say to the best of your ability, but the same thing is it's about whatever you don't do, it's always going to come back to bite you. Like, you ever had something that you needed to do and you needed to be thorough in a certain area, but you decided to slack in one little area. You need to do what you need to do. So it's always going to come back to bite you, whether it's a small form in the back of your mind, thinking about it and seeing where the mistake is, or it's, somebody pointing it out. That's on a more extreme or on a more negative end. It's like somebody pointing it out, like, oh, you missed this, and then somebody has to come up behind you and clean up. That's going to be an energy that you kind of want to stay away from right now. So it's about, really working to be thorough, even if these energies aren't what you're used to, or if you're not a person who normally works with a routine and pattern. At least, if the universe sees you practicing putting something on a schedule and actually putting in the effort to fulfill it, even if you can't get to everything in your schedule during the day, you actually putting in the effort to check this off and then check that off and then check that off and then turn around tomorrow and set the same precedent for the same quality. Because that's one thing too. When we talk about earth signs, we always talking about quality. Earth signs are all about quality on all levels. You know what I'm saying? From the beginning in Taurus, the fixated, to working on quality in Virgo, to initiating quality, knowing what's quality. Like, you can't build a business off of something unless you see the quality in it. You know what I'm saying? And designing a system for quality. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all of these different energies relate to quality. So you got to think about, beyond material, the quality of your life. You know what I'm saying? This is a time to improve the quality of your life. And that's really what Earth transits are about. Like, we got this grand Earth trine, and all of the energies involved in this grand Earth trine have to do with rapid change, or transformation, complete destruction of one thing into the birth of a new thing. Right? And then us going through the retrogrades is just emphasizing a lot of that activity of going back and reviewing and recalling and being like, okay, yeah. But see, back to what I was saying about Mercury being in Libra right now, right? Mercury is going to be active in a very, you know what I'm saying? Mercury is going to be active during this right before we get into the full moon. So utilize the waxing period right now, these next 2 weeks, to actually communicate. Do a lot of that Libra shit with that Mercury. Communicate. Start to relate some of these ideas that you've been having, even if they're ideas and worries and stresses. And see, don't stress people out. You don't gotta walk around dumping your stress on everybody. But if there are individuals in your network that you want to work with, or that you've worked with in the past, and things may have not gone the way you wanted to, come up with an idea and share that idea. Try to relate. And again, you don't have to go in places where you're not welcome, but the point is saying, see where it's like we have to also, because that Venus in Leo can have us in a very self-centered way of looking at how to relate. And that's why Venus is important right now, not because it's having major alignments, but because there's a lesson there. In all, when we talk about all transits, there's always a lesson there, and that lesson applies to the bigger scheme of what's all going on in the sky. So the lesson in Venus being in Leo is a self-centered way of looking at love. Like that's the theme with right there. Now we're dealing with forms of relating, right? Through Mercury in Libra, needing to relate values in order to connect to our network and build. You know what I'm saying? And then a Saturn retrograde that's putting us in a situation where we're in there's a conflict, or we're looking out for conflict of interest. And there's a certain level of confusion. You know what I'm saying? A confusion in is this actually helping me build? Is this taking away from me building? Who else do I really need to build with? Because we see each other in these spaces, and it's like, some of us have experience with each other, some of us don't. But a lot of times we might spend a lot of times thinking whether we should or not. And ironically, a lot of people be thinking the same thing, and sometimes not, what I'm saying? Sometimes not. But everybody right now, it's like a time, right, where if you do feel like you want to initiate something as far as a project with somebody or a collaboration, try to reach out. You know what I'm saying? Try to reach out, even if these energies aren't naturally where you be at. And then, this Mercury is going to oppose that Jupiter energy and also Chiron. So that's the thing as well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be an era of mistakes. They're going to be opposite of us. So maybe we'll be able to see the mistakes, right? We'll be able to see the mistakes before they come. But at the same time, it's like how we think and what we're going through as far as an experience. These things are kind of opposite each other. So we have to not spend too much time in our heads keeping us from experiences, but at the same time, through our experiences, just knowing that it's like we just need to have clear intentions. Like, that's really the thing. We need to have clear intentions, because that's the only thing that can kind of keep, that's the safest way to kind of approach it. Clear intentions about what you're trying to do and why you're getting this individual involved, and then being clear in the communication of that. Because anything else, not having clear intentions, is like, it's going to cause situations where, again, we have that Libra energy of how we're trying to communicate and how we're thinking about things. And then we have the Jupiter energy of our actual experiences and what we need to go through and learn, what we need to go through, and then also our mistakes. So, we're already looking at our mistakes and looking at different things that have held us back in certain areas, and trying to and then Jupiter's in retrograde too, so we're looking at our past experiences. Our experiences aren't even moving forward yet. We're still in a situation where we're looking at past experiences and kind of trying to size things up. I think Jupiter, I forgot exactly when Jupiter went into retrograde, but it's in a state right now where it's going backwards as well. A lot of things are going backwards for us, and Chiron, so past mistakes and stuff like that is really where we're looking at. But it's just, again, since I think that when Mercury goes into retrograde, that's when we're going to really start to notice how we are, how we've been comparing and contrasting things, But that's the thing too, you don't want to make with Mercury about to go retrograde, you don't want to talk too fast. That's why the clear intentions come in handy, because it's like you don't want to talk too fast, but you should be putting yourself out there in small forms just to at least plant the seed of collaboration. You know what I'm saying? And again, we're not in a new moon in Libra, so it's no pressure in that area. Really, it's about getting your own shit together. But again, teamwork makes the dream work. So in small forms, it's like you could extend yourself just so you can start to see what's not working or what has been working. You know, if you know you've got certain things working for yourself, you can start to extend that as a early form of like getting that collaboration going, or putting yourself out there where you can build with other individuals and you actually know, okay, no, I got something working for myself. So since I got something working, okay, I got something I can, you know what I'm saying? But then again, or not then again, but we got Venus is going to be going into um, Virgos pretty soon too. Let me see when that is going to be. Yeah, that's going to be around the, well, no, but before the full moon. That matter of fact, I got it on the calendar. I'm sure. September. Yeah, that's gonna be on the 5th. So the 5th is, yeah, that's right before the new moon. Yeah. So it's like kind of like Mercury would be just taking that leap to start to have conversations and, you know, basically get an idea of who they might want to communicate with, or who they might want to collaborate with, or who they might want to start to build things with, you know. But putting yourself out there to communicate ideas just to get things rolling. But at the same time, you know, um, yeah, we about to go through a retrograde time, so it's gonna be even the things you did say. That's why it's like important to not talk too fast, because you might not think the same way. You're not going to think the same way after the retrograde hits. After the retrograde hits, you're going to be thinking a completely different way. And then it'll eventually go back into Virgo to kind of clean things up. And then it'll be meeting up with Venus. And then this will be a situation where values are being analyzed. You know, Venus doesn't necessarily like to be in Virgo, but at the same time, that's what it's going to be about, cleaning up and sharpening up our values. Right now, it's sharpening up our vision and our approach to life. So when it comes to our approach to life, that's what's really getting cleaned up. Our approach to how we're going about our dreams, our approach to how we're going about our experiences, our approach to how we're attacking our goals, and how we're choosing to not only go about our self development and our self transformation, but also our approach to our network, the people, other people outside of us, people that we want to be around, people that we want to build a community with, because that's kind of like an underlying theme as well, just community. You know, how we're gonna build this community, how we're gonna put these pieces together, and so a lot of these different things are taking place right now. But when it comes to the new moon, because I know I was talking about a lot in terms of like, you know, I guess the vibe of this time period. When it comes to the new moon, um, you know, it's just really new ways to go about this. So taking everything, simplifying it, bringing it down to, you know, a step-by-step plan that you can follow, something that you can keep up with, something that you can look at and acknowledge and be like, okay, you know, you don't have to be perfect every day. You don't have to, again, like I said, it's not about perfection with Virgo. It's about improvement. So it's about setting the tone, and then again, improving upon that quality, right? You got a certain goal as far as the certain quality you want. By you doing small forms of things that support that, you're going to get to a place where you're going to look at the quality increase. You know, and the better you can do that, again, you want to do that up until we get to the full moon. When we get into the full moon in Pisces, you want to be able to look at that and say, no, that was the right dream, because that's the jackpot part of Pisces, where it's like that now you done created a dream for yourself, and you done made it real. You done gave it life. You know, you done gave it the proper amount of life. You know, you got to remember too, Pisces is at the end of the winter. You know what I'm saying? It's at the end of the winter, so it's like kind of it's dealing with death. It's right before birth, but at the same time, it's dealing with a lot of death. So the Virgo energy gives it life, gives it some practicality, something to stand on, some green grass, some new life that it can now exist within the third dimensional realm. It can now it can now exist and be aware of another individual who has something to offer as well. You know, people can look at it and be like, oh, okay, no, I can invest in this because it's not just a dream in a cloud in a puff somewhere. It's down right in front of me, and I see the details that were put in place for it to actually flourish. You know, and you want to make sure that you're doing that. So, and then all these retrogrades, it's gonna end up starting to help make sense. You know, and that's the thing on the the negative end of the full moon is going to be a situation where you are thrusted fully in la la land, where now nothing makes sense. But if you're on the more satisfied end, you've made sense, and you've made enough sense for you to be able to afford to either be in a vibe, right, to just not so much sit back, but yeah, sit back and create, or let God do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've already took a step, so now God can continue on and fill in the blanks. But if you don't actually do that and clean things up, God can't really see what you're trying to do. God don't really get it, so he can't really get involved. You didn't take enough steps. You didn't make it as clear and defined enough for the universe to know what you meant. The universe didn't know what you meant by that, so you missed the point. That's that sentence shit. You've missed the point of it because you didn't quite condense it. You didn't simplify it. You didn't create patterns that you did in the third dimension that created muscle memory, but not just muscle memory, but also spiritual memory, where now you've put in the time, enough time in there to where you've been able to map out that space. And now as a spirit, you can go to that space even if you aren't physically doing it. You know that space and you're ironing it out. But it's like you got to balance it too, because you have to do it physically. You know what I'm saying? First, you might have the spark of imagination, right? And so it's internally first. And then you get inspired and you do it, right? But when you do it, it's a back and forth between it being a thing that you do in real life, physically, and then you maintaining the space of that whatever it is that you're going as far as your goal, your purpose, your mission. Boom, you have to jump rope. That's a balance thing that you're going to constantly have to do. Physical work, internal work. There's going to be days where you're not going to have to do so much internal work. You're already good. But there's going to be other days where you feel the pressure and you don't want to necessarily get up and do that. And that's where the routine and pattern comes in handy, because with a routine and pattern, not only does it hold you accountable for actually doing the physical work, because a lot of times people can either be too people pick a side. Some people are all about the physical work but don't actually maintain the spiritual space of it. Some people are all about the spiritual space of it but don't ever get around to physically doing it or be consistent enough for it to actually gain traction. So it's about the blending of these two energies. That's just the Pisces and Virgo energy as a whole. The two sides of it, whereas there's the physical routine of it, but then there's the not so routine but very much needed inspiration and overall imagination of what the point is. And that right there is also a key at this moment in time too. Spend some time getting clear on the imagination, and also allow yourself the space to know that even if you don't have to imagine it all. Sometimes a Pisces feel like it has to imagine it all before it can start to do physical work. You don't have to imagine it all. That's the beauty of imagination. You can add on to it, fix it, take away from it, do whatever you want, manipulate it at any time, because it's your imagination. You know what I'm saying? So don't hold so tightly in needing to pin down the imagination when it's more, especially right now, where the more important side of things is to do the work, to decide on something, not to stay too indecisive and too imaginative, too cloudy, too mutable, where you're just trying to do everything. Get clear on, and that's the thing about simplifying shit. Get clear on one thing, and then move from there. Develop a system around that one thing to be consistent. And if you do got multiple things, right? Because like me, I got multiple things I'm into. I'm doing. Figure out a way to simplify what each one needs so that you can start to build a routine and pattern one by one. You can start to build a routine and pattern by, again, a form of consistency one by one, though, where you're not trying to tackle 10 different things and now you got 10 million things on the schedule. You're trying to do everything in one day. No, focus one day on, or a couple days or a week with getting one of those boxes checked, getting one of those, and then boom, on to the next, And then people, I like to leave room for people to do things how they want to do them, because it's not about me trying. I'm just giving out suggestions and examples and talking in terms of the energy, what the energy needs you to do. It needs you to simplify, not so much trying to give y'all telling y'all what to do in order to get, whatever you think you about to get. It's not about that, with this. It's just explaining the energy the best way I can to give you an idea of the approach, and that's kind of the approach with Virgo in general. Virgo needs it to be condensed and, what I'm saying, kind of similar to, I know I was using a lot of these words when I was talking about Taurus, where it was like we need to be doing things and condensing things and making things like talking about execution, talking about just making things simple and stuff like that. So it's the same vibe because we're dealing with Earth. Earth just needs us to do that in general, But again, a lot of these, the right now, Virgo is a focal point right now because just of the opportunity we have to truly change the direction of our life based upon these small forms of consistency, because you'll start to see that the results of things, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. You'll start to see certain results just based upon you taking the initiative to get these patterns going, you taking the initiative to change your life in that way. You'll be on your way. But anyway, much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.